Do you have a friend, I say friend, but maybe acquaintance is a better term, that's always talking about themselves, that only cares about what they need, not what you want, who unreasonably suggests things and then says, take it or leave it if it doesn't work for you, and who's arrogant to the point of thinking that people should be lucky to be friends with them and they won't make any effort the other way? We all do, but how does that person make you feel? I mean, maybe you stick around because you've known them since you were young and it would just be weird to walk away now. Or perhaps there are some genuinely great things about them which make the juice worth the squeeze, but you just wish they'd get a little perspective. It could be that your kids are friends or your partners are, and so you feel like you're compelled to make an effort. You see them attract others who feed their ego, are happy to help tell them how great they are, but really who aren't helping. Now, it's not their fault, it's just that they're stuck in their own insecurity or mediocrity or sad circumstance. Because let's face it, if someone came along who had their head on straight, who was a high achiever, and who valued their own time, well, there's no chance they'd put up with such self-centeredness in others. Now, if you're like 90% of companies out there, I have news for you. When you're hiring, you're that person. One of the most expensive, most disruptive, most time-consuming things you can do as a business is to hire someone. And one of the top 5 most stressful experiences that people have in their life is changing jobs. So why do so many companies demand, degrade, and otherwise de-emphasize the experience of the candidates they interview? Now, if you were dating someone you liked, you'd make an effort. You'd woo them. You'd think a lot about whether they liked you too. And you'd probably do things to make it more likely that they do. But for some reason, companies just don't think like that. I see 3 cardinal mistakes over and over again that ruin the candidate experience when hiring. And they cost biotech companies talent. Number 1, their pitch is all about them. Number 2, their interviews are one-sided and only focused on what they're looking for. And number 3, they take their time, but then they expect candidates to respond in a hurry. As I've said, most companies are guilty of at least one, but usually all of these. So if you've fallen foul of similar errors, well, maybe it's not your fault. But now you've watched this video, so you know better. So we expect better from you in the future. As an added bonus, if you improve your approach in these key areas, you'll stand out in a crowded marketplace where everyone's pretty much saying and doing the same thing. And that gives you a great chance of attracting, engaging, and securing the talent you need. So let's tackle those issues in order. You know your pitch is all about you if you talk a lot about how much money you've raised and from who. If you highlight prizes you've won and the accolades and achievements of your founders. If you've neglected to mention any of the things that make you a great place to work or that might be important to candidates, like company culture, like opportunities for progression, and like how you support your team's development. If you use the words we, our, and ours more than the words you, your, and yours in your hiring materials. Now, this one's an easy fix. Make a list of the things you think are important to the people you want to hire. Put yourself in their shoes and try to view the world from their perspective for a while. Then next to each point, write down the ways in which you can offer the things that are important to them. Next time you talk to a candidate, next time you write a job advert or you answer questions at the end of an interview, focus on the things you've written down. It's that straightforward. Now, moving on to mistake number 2. I get it. You want to make sure that you're hiring the right person. And assessment and selection are an absolutely critical part of hiring. I am in no way suggesting that you should leave them out. But we hear so regularly from candidates following interviews that they were asked a series of pre-prepared questions with limited off-script interaction and given very little time for inquiries of their own. This is then commonly followed by a second stage interview where they deliver a highly technical presentation against a vague brief. And don't get me started on briefs. Then they're grilled with in-depth technical questions. They shake a few hands, and then everyone leaves. Maybe, as a token gesture, someone shows them around the labs, but that's usually about it. How could they possibly know if this is the right decision for them to make with that level of insight? You're asking candidates to walk away from relationships that they've had for years and a company that they know well, and to come and spend 8 hours a day with you for the next few years of their life with really a tiny amount of knowledge of the reality of what they'll be undertaking. It's almost like if you were buying a house, went to see it for 15 minutes, and then were expected to hand over £500,000 to purchase it. Well, look, while we can't do much about the housing market, we can impact how informed candidates are when making decisions about joining our company. So take the time to answer their questions. Make sure they have a detailed grasp of the work you're doing, your company's culture, and the role that they'll be performing. Give them a chance to spend time with the people that they're going to be interacting closely on a day-to-day basis with. Make your interview process a two-way conversation. So now we come to the real kicker. Imagine just for a second that you're a recruiter. You've been working with a client on filling a challenging role and managed to find them several promising candidates. They've interviewed someone great, and for whatever reason, they're first through the process. Then through difficult scheduling, also sometimes known as not prioritizing hiring, the company spend the next 3 weeks interviewing, take a further 2 weeks to make a decision about who to make an offer to, then call you on a Thursday morning. Great news, they say. We'd like to get Joanna on board. The only thing is, we need to know by the weekend. If she can't decide by then, we'll have to assume she's not interested, and we'll move on to someone else. Now, after several weeks of speaking with Joanna, keeping her interested and active, and doing your best to reassure her that the client did, in fact, have very positive feedback, and that you're sure you'll hear from them soon, how would you deliver this message while also continuing to be sincere and looking her in the eye? It sounds ludicrous, right? It happens all the time. So please, if you take nothing else from this video, start moving more quickly in your hiring. And if for some reason you can't, keep communicating and be reasonable. If you've taken your time to come to a decision, you have to expect that candidates will want you to extend the same courtesy to them. I'm not saying that hiring shouldn't be about you. Of course, you need to get the right result from the process, but it can't only be about you. Try to see things from the other side too.